Hey everyone, Jordan here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new motherboard. This is going to be the Asus ProArt X870E, so the dual chip set. Now if you're not familiar with the ProArt range, these are great for anyone that does creative work or relies on a motherboard in their system for work. Now, if you have any issues with the motherboard, they'll actually send you out a new one before they collect the faulty one. So that means you don't have any downtime with your work and you don't have any disruptions with anything, which is something I really like. Now, this one was currently sent out by Scan Computers UK. If you're not familiar with them, they are one of the biggest UK retailers. They sell a whole host of different components, pro audio, video gear. They even have some instruments as well. A big thank you to them, and I will leave their links down below. So let's get this one open. Now, the X870E is currently priced at around £470. Certainly not a cheap board by any stretch of the imagination. If you are looking for something though in the ProArt range that's a bit more affordable, they have the B650, which is also on the AM5 socket. So if you want something with that same warranty and replacement service, you can get something on a bit better of a budget. First up, we have got the board. I'm going to put this to the side just to look at what's underneath. We've got some documentation. There's also a safety information bit, also a bit about the control center. And then underneath these little tabs, we have got the wireless antennas. These are magnetic. This board supports Wi-Fi 7. So here we've got a dual DisplayPort cable, quite a short cable. This is designed to go from your graphics card back into the motherboard. Then you can bring that out as Thunderbolt for USB-C. We've also got a ProArt designed small ruler. We've also got a quick connects for the front panel headers. We've got a few SATA cables, looks to be 2 in there, and then 2 of those are right angled on the ends. We've also got a couple of SSD pads. Also another quick release for an SSD, some standard quick connects, and then we've also got another couple of those little rubber pads for SSDs. So there we have the board itself. I really do love the ProArt design. It's probably one of my favourites of any series of boards. I really like the black and gold theme. Also a little notice on here just to remove the graphics card from the end. Asus has got a new quick connect, so if you take it out from the left hand side when it's in your system, it easily connects, whereas if you pull it from the right, it doesn't. It kind of locks in. That's their new method for these latest boards. Also got a couple of extra pills on there. Nice little plastic area. Then the rest of the board is matte everywhere else. On the back, no back plate or anything like that, but that helps keep the cost down. So let's get zoomed in and have a look around the board. On the top left, we've got 2 8-pin EPS connectors. These are both solid pins. We've then got 3 4-pin headers. These are the CPU fan, CPU optional, and AIO pump. We've then got our first 5V addressable RGB on the top right of the board. We've also got some debug LEDs, very handy to see what's going on with the board. Would like to see a postcode reader, especially on a board of this price. Hopefully they'll add that in the future. Going down the right hand side, we've got our 24 pin for power. We've also got a USB-C header, that's going to be 20 gigabits per second. We've also got another 4-pin header there, that's the channel fan 4. On the right angle, we've got a USB type A header, and we've also got 2 SATA 6 gigabit ports. Going down to the bottom of the board, we've got our front panel connectors, another 4-pin, then 2 more SATAs coming straight out of the board. We've got 3 USB 2 headers, very handy for I/O on the front of the case or maybe hubs and things like that. We've then got 2 more addressable 5V RGB headers, another fan header, and we've also got our front panel audio on the bottom left. This is going to be using a Realtek ALC 1220p codec. If you are into your sound though, I highly recommend a sound card. You won't look back once you get one. There's also 2 more 4-pin headers up by the SSD slot there, so that's a total of 8 on this board. Going up to the VRM, we've got some really nice heat sinks over those MOSFETs and chokes. This has got a 12+2+2 power stage on this board, and also it's using an 8-layer PCB for those of you that are wondering about that. Our socket, of course, AM5, so support for 7000, 8000 and 9000 series processors. And then to the right of that, we've got our DIMM slots. We can support a maximum of 256 gigabytes of DDR5 up to 8000 megatransfers per second. There may see a little bit of a change on that though with future BIOS updates. So going down to our storage, our first one has a quick release slot here, and then a really beefy heatsink for, of course, a Gen 5 drive underneath. That can support up to an 80mm drive there. Big old beefy piece of aluminum or aluminium to dissipate that heat from the drive. Don't forget to take off your protective plastic from the thermal pad. And that just goes back in and then clips down to lock in place. Further down, we've got a couple more slots. Let's have a look under these. So underneath that heatsink, you've got support for some more SSDs. You've got 1, 2, 3 there, one up to 110 on the bottom. The top one will support Gen 5, and then the bottom ones will be Gen 4. Now, if you really populate this board, there may be certain things that are disabled. For example, the second Gen 5 slot will drop down the PCI slot down to X8. So there are a few things you just need to bear in mind, but I will put those on the screen for you to see if you do plan to fill it up. For our PCI slots, you have 2 Gen 5 slots on this one. Both of these are armoured, and if you run them both together, we'll run X8 each, so just something to bear in mind again. The bottom slot there is a Gen 4 slot, but it's wired to X8. And then again, there are some limitations. If you do populate all the top ones, you will have some speed issues, but again, I'll put those on the screen for you now. So last but not least, onto the I/O, let's just do this peel. There we go. So starting at the top, we've got a display port in. This is for the cable that I mentioned will come out of your graphics card and then into the board. You can then do that out to display port. That will be 40 gigabits per second. We've also got an HDMI if you want to do any troubleshooting. Clear CMOS, very handy buttons to have. We've then got the 7 USB-A's. These are all 10 gigabits per second. We've got 2 20 gig USBs, Type-C, and then also the 40 gig Type-C, which will be your one for the display port if you have a connection into the top of the board. We've got a 10 gigabyte LAN, perfect if you've got a home network or you're editing off a NAS or something like that. Very handy thing to have. We've also got a standard 2.5 gig as well. Also USB 2 for your BIOS updates. You can obviously use it for just a mouse or a keyboard if you wish. BIOS flash, again another handy button to have on the board. The little LED will show up underneath. We've got a Wi-Fi 7 antenna point. That's 320 megahertz. It also has Bluetooth 5.4. And finally at the bottom, we've got some basic audio, so microphone in, line out, and then a line in. So that was a look at the X870E ProArt Creator from Asus. I really love, like I said at the start, the warranty options that they offer. So they'll send you a new one out while they get your old one back. So no downtime, of course, minus about an hour or so to change the board over. I also love all the USBs as well. That's something that we generally see a lot less of nowadays. All the USBs are going to USB-C, but I love a lot of USB-A. And this is a board that has loads. So yeah, really up my street for that, especially with the expansions you can do as well. Gen 5, all of the things as well for your PCI and NVMEs. Of course, there are similar limitations if you really populate the whole board, but overall, I think it's an absolutely cracking board. Really looking forward to using this in a build. It's going to be very themed as well with this board as well, so stay tuned for that. Get subscribed and do the very same, miss it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, any questions, let me know down in the comments box and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Links will be in the video description if you want to pick one up. Big thank you to Cam for sending it out for me to cover, and I'll see you all in the next one.